Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the company law, how this company law came into existence, what was the situation before independence, after independence, right? So post independence, pre independence. So we are going to discuss the interesting facts about the origin of company legislation, right? So let us start with the topic about the company law, right? So as we all know that India has drawn a lot of legislation from England, right? Because India was the colony of England, right? Similarly, in the case of companies law, India enacted company law based upon the company law enacted in England, right? So basically everything was all the Indian laws are made on the basis of the British law, right? So the three phases which influenced the company legislation may be divided as colonization era, period after World War II and III, the opening up of Indian markets in year 1980. So these are the conditions. These are the periods on the basis of which we are going to see how the company law has come into existence and how the company law has changed from time to time. So let us go further. Legislation enacted. So how this what was the before independence, how the company laws were being governed. In the year 1850, the first company enactment for the registration of the joint stock company was introduced in India, right? That was in 1850. The enactment, as mentioned before, was based upon the English Companies Act 1844, right? Later in the year 1857, the concept of limited liability was recognized in the company's legislation, but the said limited liability was not extended to the banking company. So this limited liability concept was not extended to banking companies. The concept of limited liability into Companies Act was introduced earlier in the English Companies Act 1856, but by the year 1858, the concept of limited liability was extended to banking company even in India. So after 18 like in the year 1858, the limited liability concept was also extended to banking companies, right, in India. Let's move further. In the year 1866, the Companies Act was yet again passed for consolidating and amending the laws relating to incorporation, regulation, and winding up of trading companies and other occasions. And the act was based upon the Companies Act 1862 of England, right? So it was based upon 1862 of England. This act was recast in the year 1882 and was in use until 1913, right? So this is how things have changed. In the year 1913, another Indian Companies Act was enacted based upon English companies, right? Consolidation Act 1908. Companies Act 1913 was amended in the year 1914, 1915, 1920, 1926, and 1930 and 1932. Right. So these many times the Companies Act was amended. 1913. Right. But the major amendment to the Companies Act of 1930, which was made in the year 1936, this amendment was based upon the English Companies Act 1929. So all the things we have just brought from England. So most of our laws are made on the basis of the English Act, right? So because India was a British colony, so it had. India had the effect of all the British laws. So we can see. So all the laws have got the influence of the British laws, right? Let's move further. The Act of 1913 regulated the Indian Business Company until 1956, right? By the end of 1950, the Bhabha Committee was set up under the chairmanship of H.C. Bhabha for the defense of Indian Companies Act, with reference to the development of Indian trade and industry. So in 1950, Bhabha Committee was set up, right, under the chairmanship of H.C. Bhabha, in order to make further suggestion and changes in the Indian Companies Act, right? And the committee submitted its report on 1950. In 1952, this report of Bhabha Committee was accepted. It was accepted Companies Amendment Act 1956, right? The legislation was made keeping in mind the English legislation of Companies Act 1948. So everything. So the main source of bringing this Indian Companies Act was from the English. That was the English legislation of Companies Act 1948. So that was the main source of bringing Indian Companies Act. So everything was drawn right from there. Right. Let's move further. A little more trivia about the origin of the Act 1956. Right. So let us see the more facts about the Indian Companies Act 1956. Right. The period of the Second World War and the post-war years witnessed an upsurge of industrial and commercial activity. So due to the Second World War and the post-war years, so there was upsurge, increase of in industrial and commercial activity on an unprecedented scale in India, and large profits were made by businessmen through incorporated companies. Right, the government of India took up the revision of company law immediately after the termination of the last war. Right, so after the war, the revision of the company laws immediately taken. Two company lawyers, one from Bombay and the other from Madras, were successfully appointed to advise government on the broad lines on which the Indian Companies Act 1930 should be revised and recast in the light of experience gained during the war years. Right, their reports were considered by government, and a memorandum embodying its tentative views was circulated towards the end of 1949 for eliciting an option. Right, so on 28th October 1950, the Government of India appointed a committee of 12 members representing various interests under the chairmanship of Sri H.C. Bhabha to go into the entire question of the revision of Companies Act with particular significance to the development of trade and industry of India. Right, so this committee, popularly known as the Bhabha Committee, submitted its report in March 1952, recommending comprehensive changes in the Companies Act 1913. So it primarily just made suggestions and recommendation, right, in the Companies Act of 1913. The report of the Bhabha Committee was again the subject of discussion and commented by chambers of commerce, trade associations, professional bodies, leading industrialists, shareholders, and representatives of labor. The bill, which eventually emerged as the Companies Act 1956, was introduced in Parliament on 2nd September 1953. Right. So the bill which was it is clearly, as we can see, the bill which eventually emerged as Companies Act 1956. It was introduced, right, on 2nd September 1953 in the Parliament. Right. Let's move further. It was a comprehensive and consolidated as well as amending piece of legislation. The bill was referred to a joint committee of both houses of Parliament in May 1954. The joint committee submitted its report in May 1955, making some material amendments to the bill. Right, the bill, as amended by the joint committee, underwent some further amendments in Parliament and was passed in November 1955. Right, the new Companies Act came into force from 1st April 1956. So major changes brought forth by the Companies Act 1956 vis-a-vis Company Act 1931. Right, so let us see the major changes. In the changes were regarding promotion and growth of companies, capital structure of the companies, company meetings and procedures, company accounts and its presentation, and power and duties of the auditors of the company. Right, inspection and investigation of affairs of the company, the constitution of the board of directors, powers and functions of directors, managing directors and managers, and administration of the company law. Right, let's move further. The amendments in the Companies Act 1956. So let us see what were the amendments. As any other legislation, various amendments were made to the Companies Act 1956. So let us see these many times the Companies Act was amended. That was in 1960, 1962, 1963, 1964, 1965, 1966, 1967, 1969, in 1974, 1977, 1985, 1988, and 1991. So let's move further. Opening of the market gates to the globe 1990. So this is the era where many new changes came. The era of liberalization, privatization, and globalization saw the anachronistic companies legislation made in time of closed market and hence inadequate to handle the global entry. This non-conducive legislation would have obstructed the Indian corporate sector. Right. So, in pursuance to this necessity, the Companies Bill 1993 was formed, but was later withdrawn. Right. So, the Depositories Act 1996 was introduced in India, and later a working group was constituted to review the Companies Act 1956. In pursuance of the above made efforts, the Companies Bill 1997 was introduced in Rajya Sabha on August 14, 1997, in order to replace the prior legislation. Right. So, due to this liberalization, privatization, globalization, right, so a lot many changes were made, right, so which affected which has brought many changes in the Companies Act 1956. The President of India promulgated the Companies Amendment Ordinance 1998 on October 31st, 1998. But this promulgated the Companies Amendment Ordinance 1998 was soon replaced by the Companies Amendment Act 1999. So this ordinance, which was promulgated by the President, right, it was replaced by the Companies Amendment Act 1999. Right. Let's move further. The objective of the Companies Amendment Act 1999. So these are the objectives: to surge the capital market by boosting the morale of national business houses, right, fostering the FITs and foreign direct investments in the country. The changes brought by Companies Amendment Act 1999 are, so these are the changes. A facility was introduced to allow the corporate sector to buy back companies' own shares, to buy back, right? So this buyback thing was added. Provision relating to investment and loans were liberalized and rationalized, right? So loans, this investment provisions relating loans and investments were liberalized. Requirement of prior approval of the central government on investment decision was done away with, and companies were allowed to issue sweet equity in lieu of the intellectual property. Right. The compliance of the Indian accounting standard was made mandatory, and the National Committee on Accounts standard was also incorporated. Okay. The benefit of the investors was looked into by setting up Investors Education and Protection Fund, and the introduction of the nomination to shareholders, debenture holders, etc. Right. Later, the Companies Amendment Act 2000 was enacted, which was followed by the Companies Amendment Act 2001, wherein the Section 77A was introduced in relation to buyback of shares. So this was the important thing, buyback of shares. This amendment allowed the Board of Directors to buy back the shares up to 10% of the paid-up capital, and free reserves provided not more than one such buyback, which is made during the period of 365 days, right? So it should be only once, right? One such buyback, right? Then the Companies Amendment Act 2002 was enacted, which was followed by the Companies Second Amendment Act 2002. The first amendment introduced the setting up and regulation of the cooperatives as a body corporate under the Companies Act 1956 to be called producers' companies, right? The second amendment was to expedite the winding up process of the companies to facilitate rehabilitation of sick companies and protection of workers' interest. Right. The Companies Amendment Act 2006 was brought into force on 1st of November 2006, wherein it introduced the director identification number and also introduced electronic filing of various returns and forms. Right. So the major thing was the director's identification number, right, and the electronic filing of various returns and forms. Right. So this 2000. The Companies Amendment Act 2000 was enacted, which was followed by another, that was the Companies Amendment Act 2001, right? So where this 77A was introduced section, right? And this buyback thing was also done here. Okay, let's move further. The new enactment of the new society, right? So the Companies Act 2013 replaced the Companies Act 1956. The legislator introduced ideas likes of. So these are the changes. These are the with the help of this the new Companies Act 213, Companies Act 2013 has brought these major changes: corporate social responsibility, class action suits, fixed term for independent directors. The provision of raising money from public was made little stringent. Prohibition on insider trading by company directors or key managerial personnel by declaring such activities as a criminal offense, right? Insider trading was declared criminal offense, right? It permits shareholders agreement providing for the right of first offer, right? Rights of first offer, a right of first offer or right of first refusal, even in the case of public companies, right? The Companies Amendment Act 2015, it received the presidential assent on May 2015 and became operative on 29th May 2015. It designed to address the issue of stakeholders such as chartered accountants and other professionals, right? So this the big changes which were brought due to this Companies Act 2013 was it permits shareholder agreements providing for the right of first offer, right? So even shareholders they had it permits shareholders agreement providing for the right of first offer, right? Let's move further. Key amendments brought in by the Companies Amendment Act 2015 may be explained as follows. Right, so these are the changes, right? These are the amendments. Let us have a look at the amendments. No minimum paid up share capital, right? And no minimum paid up share capital requirement will now apply for incorporating private as well as public companies in India. So there is no minimum paid up share capital, right, for private as well as public companies in India, right? That is for incorporating private as well as public companies in India. Relaxation in relation to related party transactions. So there will be relaxation in relation to related party transactions. In the case of related party transactions which require stakeholders approval, relaxation has been given wherein earlier required special resolution has been replaced by the ordinary resolution, right? So now inspection of the resolution filed with the registrar. This act has limited public access of such resolution relating mainly to the strategic business matters. Such documents will no longer be available for public to review or permitted to take copy of, right? So it will not be available in public domain. Common seal optional. Under the Act of 2013, it was required to affix common seal on certain documents, but now after the Act of 2015, the use of common seal has been made optional. Although the common seal is one of the integral characteristics of a company, right? So common seal has been made optional. So violation of acceptance of deposits. So Companies Act 2013 provisions in relation to acceptance, renewal, repayment of deposits. However, no specific penalty prescribed for the new compliance with the relevant provision, that is Section 13 and Section 76, right? A new Section 76A has been introduced for these non-compliance. If there is any non-compliance for the acceptance of deposit, so these are the penalties, right? So a new Section 76 has been introduced for this non-compliances. The defaulting company will be liable for a minimum fine of 1 crore and maximum amount of 100 crore in addition to the amount of deposit or part thereof along with interest, right? So the fine is for of 1 crore rupees and maximum amount of 100 crore rupees, right? Dividend. The Companies Act 2015 has introduced a proviso which states that a company must set off the losses and depreciation carried over from past year against the profit of the company before declaring dividend for a financial year, right? So it has introduced a proviso which states that a company must set off. So it must set off the losses and depreciation carried over from past year against the profit of company before declaring dividend for a financial year, right? The Companies Amendment Act 2017. The Companies Amendment Bill 2016 was intended to be passed by the legislature, but after referring it to the committee, this bill went through a lot of corrections and metamorphosed into the Companies Amendment Bill 2017, which was then passed as the Companies Amendment Act 2017. Right. So let us have the salient features of the have a look at the salient features of the amendments brought by this act. So it is a synergy with SEBI and RBI rules, right? So there was synergy. For the first time, several provisions have been amended to align the act with various rules and regulation of the SEBI, right, and RBI. For example, section 194 and 195 of the act, which was dealing with the offense of insider trading and forward dealing, has now been omitted since SEBI regulations were succinct to cover all, right? So now it has this 194-95 of the act, which was dealing with the offense of insider trading, has now been omitted, as since it will be covered under SEBI regulation, right? The instance of such fraud, further disclosure to be made in the prospectus have also been aligned with the SEBI's power to regulate initial public offering. The definition of debenture has been amended to permit RBI to disqualify certain instruments as debentures, right? So now the proportionality of penalties. The quantum of penalty will now be levied taking into consideration the size of the company, nature of business, injury to public interest, nature and gravity of default, reputation of default, right, etc., which is one of the most appreciated amendments. Two new provisions. So now it will depend on the size, right, the size of the company, right, the penalties. Two new provisions regarding the determining of the level of punishment have been freshly introduced, and lesser penalties for one-person companies and small companies were inserted. Provision for small companies and penal vigor has been reduced. Placement process made easier in private sector. Right? The placement process is rationalized by doing away separate offer letter details to be kept in the record of the company, and hence reducing the number of filings to registrar. So this placement process is rationalized by doing away separate offer. So it has been done away with this separate offer letter details to be kept in record. So it is no longer required to keep a record of these special offer letters, right, to keep in record. Okay, so the company is not allowed to use money from private placement unless allotment made and the return of the same filed with the registrar. To make sure that an investor are informed, the disclosures are made under explanatory statement as provided in Rule 13 Clause 2D of Companies Share Capital and Debenture Rules 2014, embodied in the private placement application form. Change in definition of private placement is proposed to umbrella all securities offers, invitations other than rights. Right? The companies would be allowed to make an offer of multiple security instruments simultaneously. Okay. Now, standards for independent directors. As per Section 149 of the Act deals with the qualification and disqualification of independent directors. Subsection 6 provides for various disqualification for becoming an independent director, one of which is a person having pecuniary relationship with the company, its holding subsidiary or associate company, or their promoters or directors. Right? The amendment clarified that pecuniary relationship excluded the remuneration of director having transaction not exceeding 10% of his total income or such amount as may be prescribed. Right? So this amendment has clarified that the pecuniary relationship excluded the remuneration of director having transaction not exceeding 10% of his total income. Right? If it is not exceeding 10% of his total income, then it is excluded. Right? From his pecuniary relationship. Right? The Companies Amendment Act 2019. The Companies Amendment Act 2019 received the assent of the President on 31st July 2019. While introducing the bill in the Lok Sabha, the Honorable Finance and Corporate Affairs Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said the bill seeks to ensure more accountability and better enforcement to strengthen the corporate governance, norm and compliance management in corporate sector as enshrined in the Companies Act 2013. In order to review the Companies Act and to gain better compliance, the Government of India constituted a committee in July 2018. The said committee, after taking the options of several stakeholders of the company, submitted its report in August 2018. The committee recommended that serious offenses must face rigor of law, but technical mistakes be given in-house adjudication for speedy redressal. Accordingly, proposal to amend certain provisions of the Companies Act 2013 was made. However, in view of the urgency, the Companies Amendment Ordinance 2018 was promulgated on November 2018. To replace the aforesaid ordinance, the amendment bill was introduced in Lok Sabha and passed, but bill was not taken up in Rajya Sabha. Therefore, to continue the effect of prior ordinance, the President promulgated the Companies Amendment Ordinance 2019 on 12th day of January 2019, and Companies Amendment Second Ordinance 2019 on 21st day of February 2019. Then the Companies Amendment Bill 2019 was passed by both the Houses of Parliament and became the law, right? The major reforms undertaken by Ordinance of 2018 and 2019 includes the following. So these are the major reforms. Recategorization of offense which are in the category of compoundable offenses. So which are in the nature of compoundable offenses, they have been recategorized to an in-house adjudication framework. So that will be done through in-house adjudication framework. However, no change has been made for any of the non-compoundable offenses. And those offenses which are not compoundable, for that there is no change. Ensuring compliance of the default made and prescribing deterrent penalties in case of repeated defaults. Delegation and declogging the NCLT by enlarging the jurisdiction of regional director, by increasing the pecuniary limit up to which compounding of offence under section 441 of the Act can take place, right? Vesting in the central government the power to approve the alteration in the financial year of company under section 2 clause 41. Vesting the central government the power to approve case of conversion of public companies into private companies so as to reduce the burden of government and developing sector, right? Other reforms include reintroduction of declaration of commencement of business provision, greater accountability with respect to filing documents related to creation, modification and satisfaction of charges, non-maintenance of registered office to trigger deregistration process, holding of directorships beyond permissible limits to trigger disqualification of such directors. Okay. Now this is the conclusion, with the help of which we will understand what are the changes which have been brought so far and how it has affected the Companies Act so far. The amendment brought to the legislation were earlier reactive in nature. So it was reactive in nature because of the following things. The amendments, as it says, the amendments brought to the legislation were earlier reactive in nature. For instance, the major amendments for the reaction to the global phenomenon. So it was due to these global phenomenon. These are colonization era, period after World War II and World War III, the opening up of Indian market in the year 1990 due to liberalization, globalization, right, privatization. But the recent amendments are more proactive in nature and seeks to increase the efficacy of the legislation with respect to the dynamics of the society, right? So with this, we have come to the end of this lecture. Thank you very much.